Well, thanks for joining me, guys. This is Jessie Hobson with CineDump.com. I have the cast of the latest Hell House here. Do you guys mind introducing yourselves? Tell me a little bit about your character. Maybe start with Elizabeth, please.
Sure. I'm Elizabeth Vermilyea, and I play Vanessa Shepherd. She was in Hell House 3, Lake of Fire. She was the host of Morning Mysteries and doing a show about the Abaddon Hotel and the play they were doing there. And then that did not go very well. Everyone is chased by demons and scary clowns. But she does make it out alive, and so I'm come back as Vanessa Shepherd for Hell House Lineage, the upcoming one.
Awesome. Yeah. And Sierra, what about you?
I'm Searra Sawka. I play Alicia Cavallini, who was also in the Carmichael Manor, the latest Hell House. I basically just played the talking head journalist who was helping guide the story along. And in Lineage now, I dive much deeper into this film. My character doesn't like no for an answer and kind of just wants to get this case solved and get a little bit too involved, I guess, in this case. And yeah, so I dive pretty deep in this one, and I get into a lot of big mess, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
And the newcomer to the series, Mike, let's hear a little bit about you.
Hi, my name is Mike Sutton, and I play Father Peter. I don't think I have a last name. Do I, Sierra? Do you know
I
Father?
think your father, David.
Yeah,
David.
Father
David.
David.
Sorry, I haven't seen the movie yet. You guys have seen the movie, I think.
No, none of us seen
Haven't
the
seen
movie
it.
yet.
Haven't seen the movie yet? I thought you were something with
No,
Tiffany.
dude, I haven't seen it.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, we'll all be surprised together
I
then.
know it's awful that I
Yeah.
have to see it in the theater for the first time.
Well,
Yeah.
what I will say is like I actually just watched it today, and it is definitely one to be experienced in the
You got to
theater.
see it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I prep for these things. Like I don't like going in blind. I like having notes. I like to make myself, as prepared as can be, especially for Mike and Father David. And speaking of which, Father David, having seen it, he makes an immediate impression. Very commanding presence. Mike, I think a lot of that has to do with your cadence, and it's something that it maybe hasn't really been in this series. But how did you approach embodying such a strong spiritual figure in such a hostile setting? I know that all of you guys are not really new to horror, but Mike, you're the new kid on the block, so let's hear it.
Well, I'm new to this series, but I've done quite a few horror films. Actually,
Exactly.
I've probably done, I don't know, 15 or 20 in the horror genre, and it's been a lot of fun. But as far as when I read the role, and I was so excited to do it because one of my favorite movies of all time is The Exorcist, and there is a lot of parallels between what happens in this film and what Father Damien experienced in The Exorcist. And so I actually rewatched it 3 or 4 times and just tried to pick up some of the nuances that I thought were powerful and that would work well in that circumstance, though it's slightly different, and just try to channel the same things that when I saw it when I was 19 years old or whatever the number was, that really struck me and really stayed with me. And I got to revisit a lot of those things. And I'm hopeful that I brought some of those things forward for other people watching it.
Yeah, I can definitely say you did. I did. I started working on my review just after I finished it, and that is one of the things that I mentioned, and definitely represented well as far as that particular role goes. Sierra, with you, Alicia, right?
I think it's Alicia.
Alicia,
Alicia.
Alicia.
I know
I
that name it's a strange one.
Yeah, it's just not one I typically say, but Alicia, the is basically the audience's guide through a lot of the film's lore. And kind of going into this, there is a lot of like twists and turns and the storylines, if you will, that are you kind of do this like lore dump kind of in the middle of the film. How
Hmm.
did you prepare for those heavy exposition moments without losing the tension? Because as someone that has had to remember lines, I'm sure that was a massive pain in the ass
Oh my
because
God.
there's so
It
many
was
strings.
It was just word vomit after word vomit. I literally blacked out during that scene. I just have like no idea how I got through that because it was just a lot. I was like, Steven, really? Because I did it in Carmichael Manor that day, even though that was shot like over, that was all shot in one day. Like that whole Carmichael Manor, like everything I said in that movie, I memorized that as well. Even though it looked like it was shot over multiple days. Um, and in this scene, but I will say, like working with Elizabeth, she's just a great scene partner and a great listener, and it really helped me to stay engaged in that scene. Um, but yeah, I just how I prepared, I have no idea. I just looked at those lines and I really tried to learn the story.
Yep.
So it was like I wasn't just trying to memorize lines. I was like, I want to know this story inside and out so that I have a path that I'm following and the lines are just a guide more or less. Um, I guess, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I was definitely impressed. Like in my notes, I'm like, holy shit, like this is something special just because it was reminiscent of like any lore dump, and like you just did it so well. It kept me interested, and I was impressed as a viewer.
I appreciate it. I'm glad I didn't bore you. That
Yeah,
was my biggest fear was like, I don't want to just tell this like, you know, blankly. I wanted to like be engaging and have different tones in it. And it's a lot. So you have to just try
yeah.
to figure out how to navigate it and keep it interesting as best you can. Memorization is definitely a tool that you can get better and better at the more you practice. That's for sure. It's a muscle that you have to work.
And Elizabeth, you know, Vanessa has been through death, resurrection, and years of trauma since Lake of Fire. How did you prepare to revisit her after such an intense journey? Was this always the plan, or was this something that kind of Stephen kind of sprung on you as time went on?
No, it was not the plan that I knew of. It was definitely a surprise. He just kind of called me up out of the blue and was like, "Hey, would you like to do another Hell House?" And I was like, "Sure." And he gave me a little bit of the plot and like what's been going on with Vanessa, but I didn't really get it fully until he actually sent me the script and I could see like, you know, what exactly she's going through and all that stuff. And that was really fun because I've never gotten to revisit a character after time away and really like go back over what I had for who she was as a person then versus now and like the journey she would have to go on to like get to the place that she's in now, which is kind of a dark place. So that was really interesting and cool to be able to do.
Yeah, in this film, you know, she's kind of haunted more so by nightmares and visions, and you know, in the beginning anyway. Did you approach those sequences differently than the more grounded scenes, or was that something you kind of worked with Steven to accomplish?
I didn't really do anything different in the approach of it. I think it's all equally when she's in kind of dream sequences, when she's in reality, I think it all feels equally real. And I think that's part of the reason that she's so scared by these nightmares that she's having, is it's so real. She feels like she's there, she's actually experiencing it. So I just treated it all as the same thing, that it was just reality. This is actually happening to her.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then Sierra, with you, you know, there's a lot of moments that you know kind of teeter that line of reality as well. You know, the one that kind of comes to mind is the exorcism scene that you do with Mike. In that sequence, it was one of the most intense moments of the film. Can you walk us a little bit through filming that, especially with the practical effects as well as maybe the you know, the situation with the casket without spoiling it?
That's I was gonna say without spoiling it.
Well,
That's
I mean, like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously, it just. I mean, obviously, you haven't seen the film, but it looks so good on camera, and
I that's what I am so anxious to see that scene just to see like how different it is compared. Like it was already creepy
In
day
person.
of without
yeah,
any
Yeah.
effect, any special effects. a lot of those effects were real based off what I'm seeing in the trailer so far. Like it wasn't really much of a change. Like they really created that atmosphere on set very well. So I don't know how much effects were added or CGI, if any, but they really did great with the makeup and the just the set design. It was very easy to get into that world because it was really there in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. And same with you, Mike. You know, your
Mm.
character has one of the most chilling confrontations with the clowns, or one of the clowns. Did you have any personal reactions to those props or any of the performers while on set?
Yeah, I just think that as Searra said, the makeup that they did for the movie was enough to get you there. It was creepy on that day. There was smoke in the air. It was
Mhm.
quiet. It felt heavy, and it didn't take much to get to where we needed to be for those scenes.
Mhm. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of horror films, you're kind of pretending you're seeing what you're seeing, and
Yeah,
then they add in the effects later, but it really wasn't like that. It was really all there for us to play with and really feel in the
But
moment.
as an actor, that's a gift because a lot of
It
times
is.
you have to play in those fictional
Mhm.
circumstances, but when they're right there and you can just kind of feel the essence of those characters in that moment, it was a lot. It was so helpful from an acting perspective. And thanks to Stephen for setting it up to allow us to succeed.
For sure.
yeah, definitely. And I think that that's why this series has gone on so long, just because of all of the effort that Stephen puts into it, and the lore, and these clowns are a huge part of it. Now, kind of keeping that in mind, Mike, when you were preparing for this role, Father David isn't a part of these earlier films, like I mentioned. Did you did you dive into the films to kind of get like a little bit acquainted with the films, or did you and Stephen kind of decipher or decide, maybe coming into it blind?
No, I actually took a look at some of the other films. I just kind of wanted to know the arc of the characters and understanding, where the family, the origin of the family was, and why this place that I was going to had the circumstances that it does, and to have some idea about what each character's story was about. In particular, Vanessa's story, played by Elizabeth, and to have a framework for it, because my character actually participated in some of the earlier
Yeah.
stuff. He was a part of it, but on the periphery, and he saw and heard about everything, but wasn't directly involved with a lot of this stuff. So I did have to have some knowledge of it, and I did have to have a foundation for understanding why my character was willing to go into the house, and why it was important for me to protect Searra as that character that was hell bent on finding the answer to this thing, and I just couldn't, in good conscience, let her do that on her own.
Definitely, yeah. And Sierra, kind of piggybacking off the question I asked you about like memorization and the script and everything. Your investigation, or your character's investigation, ties together the Carmichael Manor, the hotel, the decades of murders. Did you use any sort of like character map, or did you have like, red strings on walls somewhere to kind of keep track of everything? Because I feel like I would have to do that. I know I did it while I was rewatching the films, but did you do any do anything like that?
You seem much more organized and prepared than me. I did not do any of that. I was just so no, I really didn't. I feel like I was very comfortable with the storyline, and like Mike, I did watch the other films just to prepare. Um but my character didn't really know what she was getting herself into, I think, ultimately, when she wanted to take on this task. And I kind of wanted to have that little bit of like innocence going into it, I'm very passionate about this. I want to figure it out. And I think I was blind to what I was actually getting myself into. So yeah, I kind of just went in a little aimlessly on purpose because I wanted to scare myself.
I could definitely see that happening. Like, especially having watched the films and kind of, been there since the beginning. These films do frighten me. I think that that's kind of what keeps me coming back to them.
Mhm.
And, kind of coming off of that, it's no secret the first films were all found footage. The shift away from found footage, we kind of see more of Vanessa's environments and emotions. Did that format change how you felt about this, Elizabeth, or did it give you more freedom with your performance, if you will?
Yeah, I think it definitely did. I mean, I think changing to narrative, it's just you can be more real. I mean, when you're acting in a found footage, you are obviously aware of the cameras. You're supposed to be aware of them. You're only gonna say stuff or do things that you would be willing to do on camera. I think making it narrative, lets you see Vanessa in a more raw emotional way, which I think worked for the movie, especially for it being the last one. It really gets into all these characters, it gets into the scares in a different way, and I think it really works for what Steven had in mind for this film.
Sierra, what do you think? Like, how did you feel about them kind of, or Steven changing the game a little bit? Because I interviewed him for his last film, and he said that it ultimately kind of set him up and made him more comfortable and prepared for this to tackle Hell House in the way that he did. But do you feel as if it you were able to work within that world a little bit easier?
Yeah, to be honest, like, because with Carmichael Manor, I personally did not do any found footage myself. And I've never worked on a found footage film before.
Gotcha.
So for me, narrative is all I know. And it's my comfort zone. Doing a found footage seems like a huge challenge. And I would love to take it on one day. It's funny to say I've been in Hell House and never did a found footage, but it's true. Like I never did. So but yeah, narrative is my world, and I think it was very necessary for him to make this transition for this film. And I've said this before. He was able to do so much with it, give so many answers, do the scares like in any way he wanted to, not limited to a camera angle. And I think that's why this film is getting the reviews it is and the hype it is, because he really was able to have like full range with it now and end it the way he wanted to without any limitations.
Mike, like like Elizabeth and Sierra are both saying, like, this is being billed as the final Hell House film. You definitely put your stamp on it. I will say, having been the one of four of us that actually have seen it, how does it feel? Or like, did you feel a certain type of way kind of joining the party, near the end? But at the same time, you're going to be one of the characters that is remembered, especially for this film.
I just thought it was a tremendous responsibility, and I kind of felt some pressure to live up for it. I mean, the franchise has done so well, and the fans are crazy about it. There's people that have watched the films 20, 30 times each, and to try to give them the closure on this franchise, and being a part of the scenes that Sierra and I did, felt like, well, we've really got to deliver here. So, and if we didn't, that kind of would have been on us. And that was a little bit of pressure, I think. Did you feel
Totally.
it too, Sierra? Yeah.
100%. I was anxious the entire shoot. I was like, just do good. Just give them what they want. I don't like this is an awesome franchise, and I didn't want to be responsible for screwing it up.
Jesse, can I tell you a funny story? Sierra had never screamed on camera before. Isn't that right?
That is right.
Yeah, and she
Yeah.
was so nervous about the scream. And I read one review that said one of the best screams they ever heard in a horror film. Did you see that yet?
I did see that. Yeah, Steven sent me
I
it.
thought that was
He's like,
awesome.
you said you couldn't scream and you got this review. And I was like, I don't know. I still don't think I can scream, but that was the very nice review and reassuring.
I really enjoyed that.
Well, speaking of that review, I actually read that review myself. Did you practice beforehand or
I did
just,
not.
wow, okay, wow, that's impressive.
I don't know about you, Elizabeth, because you had to scream a couple of times. For
Yeah.
me, screaming is like the most vulnerable thing to do ever. Like I don't do it often. It's not really something you can practice unless you go out in a woods or somewhere vacant where like no one like it's just such an awkward thing. Like you can practice crying and you can practice other emotions, but screaming, I was like, I think I'm just gonna do it in the moment, especially in that scene. It did help with the environment we were in. But yeah, it was one of those things I just wanted to do in the moment. And I told Steven, hopefully I deliver. Like, yeah. And he was prepared if I didn't. He was like, we'll have someone else scream and put it in on top of your screen if it's that bad.
It's always nice to have a plan B and C.
Yeah.
So yeah. There's also another interesting moment between Sierra and Mike, y'all's characters. There's like this interesting moral debate between Father David and Alicia about good versus evil not being black and white. Was that scene? It really stood out to me because I liked the kind of back and forth between you two. It really kind of gave you guys an opportunity, outside of the screaming and running around clowns to kind of like have this really emotional sequence for the two of you. Was that a scene that you guys like relished performing because you guys really showed chemistry in that moment?
I
So
think it helps that me and Mike know each other
yeah,
previously.
we've worked together a couple of times, and we also attend the same acting school, the Actors Lab. And our coach Brian Fox actually helped us work the scene initially, and
Mhm.
gave us some really good notes and some context for what I think read in that scene.
Mhm.
And then when you put that together with the notes from Steven and what he was trying to get out of the scene, I think that gave it some layers and it's some dimensions that hopefully you thought that they came through, and I'm relieved to hear that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite scenes, and I actually watched it a few times just because I'm familiar like with you guys enough to know and like what stands out. You know what I mean? And that was one of those moments where I was like, man, they killed that, and it was legit, and that's kind of cool. I had no idea you guys went to the same acting school, so that's and I love that antidote about having the prep work. So Sierra, you said you didn't come prepared, but at the same time, I'm hearing these crazy stories about you putting in the time and effort.
Yeah, our acting coach is exceptional. I will say we are very gifted to have his guidance. We had his help with that scene, and it was enough for me to guide myself through the rest. I just needed that like initial like where am I going with this character? Like, and he helped me with that like initial mindset and just establishing what I'm doing here.
And he talked about our dynamic, how we
And our
get
dynamic.
together. And
Yeah.
again, so I think with that, Steven's input and us, we worked that scene pretty hard. And it was also the last scene. Wasn't that last scene of the movie? It was on the last shooting day, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true. It was a very shot out of sequence. So by that point, we had already shot so much
That's
together.
tough. Yeah.
Even though it was probably the first scene you might have seen us in together,
Yeah.
it was the last scene we did. So that
Wow.
also does play a role in our chemistry for sure. Yeah.
Very, very, very cool. I love
Yeah.
pulling back the curtain.
Mhm.
And Vanessa, or not Vanessa, Elizabeth, I'm sorry. Whoever you want to be today. Vanessa also has moments of empathy and encouragement, especially with Max amid all of the chaos. So, there's a lot of rewarding moments in this film. There's a lot of shining stars, if you will. How important was it to keep her humanity front and center? Because I felt like that was one of the things that shined the most for Vanessa this time around.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason for the switch to narrative, maybe, or the that makes it make sense or something, is you really are like with her in the struggle and you're seeing it kind of first person as if as if you're living it with her or something. And yeah, I think that makes it a lot more real in a way that found footage you wouldn't probably be able to in the same way. And like, yeah, and the scenes with Max and with her roommate Crystal, and really grounding the character and, you know, having empathy with the other characters and what she's struggling with and everything made it a really different kind of movie, I think, in that way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you know, you hinted at this, and I've touched on it with Mike a little bit. You know, this being billed as the final Hell House film. You know, how did it feel stepping into Vanessa's shoes, knowing that this might be the last time?
Kind of scary. Kind of some pressure. But I try to put stuff like that out of my head while we're doing it, of you know, it being the last one or any fans' reactions or anything like that. You show up to work and you do the scenes for that day and you try not to think about any of the other noise outside of that.
Definitely, Sierra. Do you actually think that this is going to be the last Hell House film?
Steven swears it is, but honestly, I feel like you've seen it. So the way he ends it, I just my like perspective on it is like I definitely think might have left it maybe because he wants to do another one. We'll see. I think like a couple years from now he'll be like we should bring it back. But I think it would be a while if that did happen.
Yeah, I
I hope
think
I hope he brings it back again
I I
for,
I
for
I
another
love the
one. Why
I
not?
love it. I love
Mhm.
the franchise. I think it's like it's kind of like I was explaining it to somebody at work today. It's kind of like the Five Nights at Freddy's for adults. Like there's so much lore, and that's part of the fun is you like can have to connect those dots and you know make lists and maps and all that shit. Like it's Steven. I just want to sit inside Steven's head and just watch it all work because I feel like that is the film. That's
Yeah. I
the
feel like
guy.
he can go in so many other different directions also.
y-
Like if he did want to bring it back, it doesn't have to be like really what it is now. Like he could maybe focus on the family and like make a movie about just them. And like he could just do so much with this. And that's just one example. There's just so many different like storylines in this and characters to build off of.
Exactly.
It's like an endless franchise if he wanted it to be, honestly.
Well, even with Father David about like how he mentions he's like, yeah, I was here whenever they first showed up. I mean, there's stuff there. So like even if they wanted to
Exactly.
bring Mike back, there's always there's always an unturned rock, if you will, with this franchise. And I feel like that's the beauty of this film or the well, this film in particular, but this franchise. Um, you know, you guys have answered most of my questions, or at least like the stuff that was kind of lingering in my head. I just kind of want to pass it on to you guys. You know, any final thoughts, or is there anything that you guys hope fans feel when walking out of the theater after seeing this film? Because I'll tell you guys, I want more of that. So, yeah, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, Sierra, you hinted at it there there's something there. And I mean, let's talk like well, let's not talk about it, but let's make it. So I'll pass it over to you, Mike. What do you think? How do you want people to feel? And ultimately, any final thoughts, sir?
I hope they don't think it's a Game of Thrones ending.
Oh.
I hope they're really satisfied with the. I know Stephen puts an extraordinary amount of thought into all the storylines, and I think he was trying extraordinarily hard to make sure that he answered the questions that should be answered in this. And I guess only you know the answer to that, Jesse. But I want people to feel like this was the right way to do it, and if they come away and they're satisfied with that, that would be my wish for the movie.
Awesome. Sierra, what do you think?
Yeah, I just want people to be like, oh, they ended it with a bang. And like everyone's so worried about the transition from found footage to narrative, but like the reality is people just love the story and the characters that were built, and they're gonna get all that and so much more than they expect. So I just hope people are shaken when they leave because they were wrong that it was going to be a bad idea to transition.
Well, yeah, and I just want to touch on that too. Like there's hints of found footage kind of, peppered throughout.
Yeah.
So for the people that have to have it, it's there. There's multiple mediums throughout the film, and I thought that was pretty cool. And Elizabeth, our final girl, if you will.
Yeah, I mean just saying the same thing. I mean, I hope people enjoy it and feel like it's a satisfying ending and that, it tied the threads together of all the different movies that happened before. And I hope they enjoy the clown. There's lots and lots of clown in this one, and I hope that they're really scared.
Well, that's yeah, I was. So yeah, I was a little concerned myself, I'm not gonna lie, but then when I sat down and watched it, I was quickly won over. And just like that, I was quickly won over by you guys as well. Here at CineDump, we let the doers know how they're doing, and you guys are doing just fine. Elizabeth, Sierra, Mike, thank you guys so much for your time. Congratulations on the release of the film Hell House. I believe it's in theaters on August 20th, right? Or August.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yep. And yeah, I actually just saw a post from Terror Films about checking local theaters to see if your theater is showing it. I will say that this is one to be experienced in theaters. So despite having already seen it, I will be there. So thank you
Cool.
guys so much for watching, and thank you guys for tuning in and hanging out with me for a little bit here. I really truly appreciate you guys and the franchise.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
Seriously, this was a blast.
Awesome.